Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Cruel Justice Empowered by Witness to Innocent, hosted by Herman Lindsey. And for those that don't know me, I'm Florida's 23rd Death Row exoneree, and I'm on the Secretary of the Board of Director for Witness to Innocent. Our show is uh, a show, something we do every week at 3 o'clock to educate people about what's going on, to give them live testimony of stories from death row exonerees and other people that has information about death row and the death penalty around the world. You know, I'm really hoping next week we can get into about the federal execution that's about to come up, where President Trump, before he leaves, he wants to execute. He's already signed the warrants to execute for black men. You know, and recently before this, he was before election, he was executed for white men who he had racist ties. So it's a big political game, and people are losing their lives. And hopefully, I can get coverage of that. If I don't, at least I have some information to share with you all about that. Today, we have a guest who is also a good friend of mine, a member of Witness to Innocent, a longtime member. His name is Perry Cobb. He's a death row exoneree, and I would like to y'all to really pay attention to this story. You know, he's going to tell his story, and understand stories are hard to tell. So if he can take his time out to tell you what happened to him, you know, he's also putting himself through a mental strain, reliving this. So I ask that you do pay attention. If you have any comments, please feel free to comment. Please feel free to share. It's very important that you share these shows for us, you know, because the more we can reach out to, the more people are actually educated. So, Mr. Cobb, would you love to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Perry. I'm exoneree, the first exoneree off of Illinois that was let out. As a matter of fact, when it happened to me, Governor Ryan gave a moratorium for the men on death row and released a lot of them, and some had to stay and remain in penitentiary because they was guilty, that they found them guilty, but they released a lot of us. And that was because of myself, Perry Cobb, and Anthony Porter. Now, my first encounter with death row came when I was in 6th grade. My class had a review. We went to Cook County Jail, who was executing people when I was in 6th grade. This was in the 50s. And being boys, we was kind of mischievous. So 3 of us had ran into this room where there was a large window. And this was strange. We'd never seen anything like that inside. So we sneaked into the room, and here was a man in an electric chair with his veins was outside of his leg, had busted outside of his leg. So we ran out of there and told the teacher, and they in turn got us out of Cook County Jail. And we talked about it when we got back to school. But it had terrorized the 3 boys, and I was one of them because we had never seen anything like this a day in our life. We was kids. Like I said, I was in 6th grade. So now, that's why a lot of people didn't understand why I say I was on 4 death rows when they only have 3, but they had 4 because Cook County Jail in the 50s and the 60s, they was executing people. This is the only death row that I knew anything about. They had the chair. I think they got rid of the chair in the late 60s, okay? But it's still known as death row. So now, during the course of my arrest, I was in a hotel doing writing. I was writing songs, Many Camilla Lane and Lou Bonds were supposed to come and pick me up, but instead Camilla Lane and Minnie Rimpton was coming to get me, and on that day, the police kicked the hotel door open, knocked on the door. I said, "Who is it?" Was wrapping a towel around me, and they kicked the door open. And when I saw what was happening, all I saw was people coming in. I didn't see no uniform. I saw white men with guns. So I dived onto the bed. And man put a pistol up outside of my head, told me to get out the room, took me outside in the hall. I had no clothes on. He was rubbing the pistol in the back of my head and saying that you killed them. I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Shut up. Nigger. Shut up, nigga. You killed them." I didn't kill anyone. I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." So what I did, I made a lot of noise, and some other people in the hotel, they came, opened their doors, and I told them, "Please follow these people." They said they take me to the police station. I don't see no uniforms. I see all I see is guns in white men's hands. And it was hate. It was hate all up and down the hall. So a few cars followed us to the jail. And I don't know what happened to them then, but I know they took me in jail. They put me in handcuffs and handcuffed me to a radiator. It's winter time, so the radiator is hot. I still have a scar on my wrist now where it was burnt from the handcuffs. It got hot from that radiator. So they run me through 1,000 changes, asking a lot of questions I couldn't answer because I knew nothing, and they didn't want me to ask any questions because I'm supposed to have known, but they knew that I did not know. Okay, finally, a state's attorney came there, and he started helping the police to write it up how they're supposed to write it to say they're going to get a true bill. And I said, this is real strange. I haven't did anything to anybody. All I'm doing was writing songs and waiting for Minnie and Camilla to come pick me up because we were going to want to ride. I can write as we ride through see the territory, the scenery. Couldn't do that now. But anyway, the police came back in the room and told me, he said, "Well, this is what we want you to do. We want you to sign this." And he said, what it is, it's saying that 2 other people did this crime. You didn't do it. 2 other people did it. And you recognize them. You seen them do it. You was across the street. I said, "No, I didn't see nobody do anything." He said, "Okay." He said, if you don't say that you saw these people, we're going to give you the case. So I played along with them. I'm trying to get the names of the individuals that they're talking about. And they never did come up with that. So, in other words, by me not signing the paper and going along with them, they gave me the case, took me back to the cell and locked me up. There was a man by the name of Frenchie, a white man, in the cell next to me. He said, "PC, PC." I'm trying to say, "Who is this?" He said, "This is Frenchie, the artist, the artist." I said, "Frenchie, the artist, Frenchie, the artist." I'm trying to figure out who it is. And then he made me know who he was. Okay. He said, "We got the same case." I said, what do you mean? We got the same case. He said, "We got the same case." They gave me the case too of killing those 2 white men and robbing those 2 white men in the restaurant. He knew more than I knew. I didn't know anything about it, period. Nothing. Had never been in the place a day in my life. Never. Anyway, we talked a minute, and then the police came. They took him out, left me there, and they 2 more came and got me and took me out. What we ran into, they walked us up some steps where we was locked up, and as we came up on the 2nd floor landing, when you looked down, all you seen was lights. It looked like it was daytime with so many lights. These were reporters they had there taking pictures of us. They took Frenchie and I to Cook County Jail. Took pictures, took blood tests and all of that, and locked us on the cell. So now, a day go by, we talking about it. I'm still confused. I don't know anything about anything. Don't know anybody, period. I had seen this man 2 times in my life. He wasn't a friend of mine. He wasn't associated. I just had met him some time ago, years ago. Okay. Well, we talked. And the next thing you know, here come another co-defendant. Darby Tillis came in. He said, we all got the same case. Now, here's 2 strangers to me. I had met Darby once in my life. I didn't hang in the street. All I did, I laid up in the hotel. I did songs. That's what I did. I was writing songs, and I can write them very good. That's what I do. Now I write short stories too, but then that's what I was doing, writing songs. So now we're in question as to how did you get involved with this case? He said, well, I volunteered to came because they said they were looking for me, and I volunteered and came here. This don't make any sense. How many people would volunteer for a double murder and double armed robbery? Didn't make any sense to me. I know I wouldn't, but I'm talking about me. I would not volunteer to come to no jail for no double murder and a double armed robbery. That's kind of tough for me. So anyway, I'm suspicious by nature. Now all these things are coming up. I'm hearing something from Frenchie. I'm hearing something from Darby Tillis, but I know for a fact that I didn't do anything with anyone. These are people that I don't do drugs, and I don't drink alcohol. I don't even smoke cigarettes. So one is a dope fiend and one is an alcoholic. Darby Tillis is an alcoholic. Earl Grant, Frenchie, was a dope fiend. I don't even smoke cigarettes. So now what am I doing with these 2 people? One is black and one is white. So we're in there. We're dealing with this, right? I have to deal with this because I don't know anything about anything. So I have to kind of talk to find out as much as I can about the case, what they know, because they knew way more than me. Because the area that they were supposed to have happening, that's the area that they lived in and did their little things. I said, okay. Now we're in Cook County Jail thinking that all of us have been through the same thing. We've had the pictures taken and blood tests. Okay. Now they take us to trial, to 13 in Michigan. Now 13 in Michigan had a 98% of convictions happened at 13th in Michigan. This was their history. So in other words, and when you go there 9 times out of 10, you'll be found guilty and wind up in penitentiary or death row. So we go to 13th in Michigan. And they take us through some changes. They getting the jury ready, picking jurors and things. So we finally got the jury together. And there was 11 white people and 1 black. And he was from Mississippi. I'm thinking, man, through gambling now, here's a man from Mississippi, he black, don't make no difference. He's going to go along with these white people. This is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm thinking. Anyway, when it came to the trial, and we went through the changes there, the state's attorney named Bo Herrick, I'll never forget him. He kept coming over to the table, pointed his finger in my face. Now, at the time, I was muscular, but I was kind of disturbed about being in the position that I was in because I did nothing to no one. I never robbed nobody. I never killed nobody. I had no business being there. I'm a singer and writer of songs. So that's what I was doing, and that's what I do. That's what I used to do anyway. During the course of the trial, this O'Hara kept sticking his finger in my face, and I talked to my lawyer, and it was Randolph Stone. I said, man, stop this man from putting his hands all by my face. I don't like this. So he asked the judge. The judge's name was Judge Close. You never forget him if you see him, because he wore his pants, which is called high water high. His pants would stop at the calf of his leg. That's how high he wore his pants. But anyway, Attorney Stone asked him to instruct the prosecutor to keep his hands away from my face. The judge didn't do that. He kept doing it, so he asked him a few more times. And then Darby's lawyer asked him a few more times. He didn't do that. Now, I need to say this, that before we went to trial, they had dismissed Prince Earl Grant and gave him time considered served and sent him to another penitentiary for what you call a dress out. That means the time that he had spent in Cook County Jail, they gave that time to him and sent him home. Sent me and the black brother to go to trial for double murder and double armed robbery. Wait a minute, this is real bad too. I'm looking at all of this. Now, the crazy part of it is that they doing everything openly, and the judge said, we're going to try to do this, keep this quiet. We're going to do this trial real quiet. I'm not going for it. I'm a noise maker. So I'm making all the noise that I can, but the noise that I'm making, is good noise, because I'm talking about I did nothing to no one. I don't know who my co-defendant is. They gave this stand to put us together, and now we'll be in trial. The jury know this. They weren't supposed to find it out. So the judge said that I was making too much noise. And when the prosecutor came and put his hands in my face again, I stood up and told him to keep his hands out of my face. And I asked the judge, I said, would you stop this man, this boy Harris prosecutor, from putting his hands by my face? I said, I don't know where his hands been. He just left the bathroom. I don't know if he washed them or not. And if he did wash them, they have no business being in my face. That's when Bo Harris said he was Marine. He wasn't afraid of no one. He can do what he want to do. The judge told me, he said, I need to be quiet. He said, you don't have to be in the courtroom. You can be in the bullpen. I said, okay, fine. I go to the bullpen. Anywhere you send me, I go. But what are you going to do when it's time for me to testify? That was my question. He said, you can sit down and just and behave yourself. He said, because they use handcuffs and talk about putting a gag on my mouth. I said, well, I don't know who's going to put a gag on my mouth, because I'm not going to sit down and let nobody put no gag on my mouth. I'm not going to do that. He said, we can do that. I said, well, it's going to be some disturbance. Now I put myself in a move for the simple reason I'm not going to allow them to gag me. I'm going to be in handcuffs and gagged in the courtroom. I'm not going to allow that. They're going to have to do something to Perry Cobb. So now he decided that it was going to be okay. So he told the prosecutor kind of stay away from him. That's all he said, kind of stay away from him. So that went on. Now they got an eyewitness named is Arthur Shields. He's a white man. I never saw him a day in my life. Nobody. He had testified. The prosecutor asked him, was out of body man and was a David man, and he said, I don't know. They look like to me. Okay. And it came to him to be questioned by my attorney. My attorney asked him, was we the man? Did he say, is he saying that we the men? He said, no, I'm not saying that they the men. They just look like the men. Okay. It went on and on and on. And then when the jury went out to make a decision. It came back a hung jury, 11-4 and 1 against. The 11 was all white. The 1-4 was black. This was the man from Mississippi whom I thought was going to automatically go along with these white people. I said, he from Mississippi. I don't know anything about that. I'm just thinking people in the South, black people in the South, is going to go along with the white people. So I'm that way. That's how my mind works. But anyway, he stood up. The things that he heard in the courtroom didn't make any sense at all, because the fingerprints weren't mine, and the testimony of the eyewitness, the man was approximately 6'11". I'm not 6 feet tall, and the man was light skinned. I am a black man. I mean, a black man. And I'm not light at all. I'm nowhere around 6'11". So that didn't make any sense. If you found latent fingerprints, and it weren't mine, and it didn't belong to Darby Tillis, and neither one of us is that tall, because we stood back to back in our stocking feet, and I'm just a hair taller than Darby Tillis. So there was no great difference in our height, which was said that was a great difference. So this is why I believe that this juror wouldn't go along with these other 11 white people. So now we got a mistrial. Come time for the second trial. They had white, and then black. I believe it was 3 or 4 black people on there. But anyway, in getting the jury together, the prosecutor stopped the whole thing, because this black man on the first trial, he came back to see the trial. He had his grandson with him, his little baby grandson with him. They stopped going through the motion and told the judge that this man here was a juror in the first trial, and that he's messing with the jurors that they picking. They stopped everything and put the jurors out and called him up there, and he told the judge, he said, "I'm just here. I just wanted to see. I see the trial. It's interesting." They barred him out of the courtroom, out of the building. Didn't want him in there. Said that he was interfering with the jurors, and he wasn't doing anything but sitting there. So it was very, very racist over there. Very, very. And people think about Chicago, Illinois. Chicago, Illinois is a bad place. It's good, but it's bad too. Especially when you're dealing with the system. The system is a dose of this disease is out today 1,000 times over. As far as racism goes, it's bad. Anyway, after that, they told this man he couldn't even sit there and watch the jury and put him out of the courtroom. They had another set of jurors to come in, because they moved all those jurors away. They dismissed all of those and had some more jurors to come in, and they had to pick from them all over again. Now, going through the trial, almost the same thing was done, but different things were said. There's another witness by the name of Phyllis Santini who told a lie, saying that she had picked me and Darby Tillis up. Me and that man have never been nowhere together. And that I was putting her hair and made her drive over to this restaurant where the murder had taken place. Now, again, I state, I have never been in this restaurant a day in my life. I don't drink coffee, and that's what they're supposed to serve, coffee and French fries, whatever they did, but I had no business there. I don't drink coffee. So anyway, that lie was told, and she kept saying that I had pulled her hair and scared her, and she drove me there, and the Darby Tillis and I went inside. She stayed outside in the car. Wait a minute, don't make any sense. If two people got you hooked up to the degree whereas they're going to armed rob a place and kill some people, and you're a stranger, and you stand in the car, and they went inside this restaurant and did this low down deed, why would she be out in the car waiting? Didn't make any sense. It's crazy. Okay. Now, this woman, I had never seen her a day in my life, but I remember the name, Phyllis Santini. I'll never forget it as long as I live. That's her name. She said that I did these things. I hit her, pulled her hair, and threatened her and scared her to the degree where she was staying in a car while me and this other man supposedly went inside and killed these people and robbed them and came back and got in the car. She drove us away. That's crazy. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, when Arthur Shields came to testify, the states had him. He said, these are the men. They look like the men. They look just like the men. Okay, my attorney asked him the same question. So they got his testimony from the first trial where he said we was not the men, right? The state's attorney said, no, he don't mean that. We talking about the pictures, Your Honor. But Arthur Shields stated all blacks look alike. So my lawyer asked for a mistrial. Wouldn't grant that. This is what the state witness said in the open court. All blacks look alike. That's a lie. All blacks don't look alike. I got kids don't look just like me. That's crazy. But anyway, we had a mistrial, and I believe it was 9 for the release me, and 3 for the kill me. And so they did. They transferred the case to 2600 in California. Now I'm thinking that since we're going back to 26 in California, that I'm going to get more justice now, right? Because 13th in Michigan got a 98% conviction rate over there. They took us and put us in Cook County Jail. So it was about 4 or 5 months before we went to trial. This is the third trial. And finally, when we went to trial, they went through their motions and stuff and called it off again. We had to come back to the jail because things wasn't right. They wasn't ready to trial. Now the thing of it is, what we was doing was saying we was answering ready for trial. By you answering ready for trial, that means that time is constantly going on. So we asked for a speedy trial. So while we're asking ready for trial, they're trying to get our attorney to say by agreement. I said, no, we can't go by agreement. We want to go and go to trial. So they didn't like that about me. But anyway, that particular time when Darby and I was on our way back to the Cook County Jail, walking through there, we had to step over 4 dead bodies on the boulevard that had got killed in Cook County Jail. We had to step over them. So now this is the thing that we're going through. Now, they're killing people every day in Cook County Jail. They're getting beat to death, they're getting stabbed to death. It doesn't make any sense. Getting killed by cartoons and the news. A cowboy or something else they want to watch. Crazy stuff. But we got to walk, got to step all over these dead bodies to get back to the tier. And on the tier, one of the men that we stepped over, we didn't see their faces. They had them covered up in the body bag. Happened to be on the same tier that we was on. He had got stabbed to death. So now all this is pressure. This is power on us. We got to be in there. We're with killers. We're with backstabbers. You got to watch yourself, right? So now, can you even imagine? You have to go to a till. They got 100 and some men on the till. And you got to stand up and let them know who you are. By them, they going to respect you or they going to reject you. I wouldn't take no rejection. They're going to have to respect me because I'm going to fight if I have to till I lose my last breath. So we didn't go to any changes that way. The thing of it is that someone could come behind your back and stab you. So we got all this pressure on us. You got to watch everything that you do. Now, the thing what's about me, I'm locked up with these strangers. Then that you're my co-defendant. How can you be my co? We haven't did anything together. Period. Don't do nothing. David Tillis had two names, David Williams or David Tillis. I don't know which name is here today. He is deceased now, but I know which was which. But anyway, we had to go back to court and went back to court. Same thing again. We there and we go in the courtroom, nothing happened. They turn around, they send us back. That happened 4 times. Now, the 5th time, they decided to take us to trial, and we were in front of Judge Maloney. Judge Maloney seemed to be a decent judge. He seemed to be decent. He's all smiles, and I mean, just when you meet him, you're thinking that everything is going to be all right because he's smiling, and there's no negative energy in the air. So you're gonna be feeling these things. I didn't feel any negative energy, period. Listen, when we finally accepted the fact that we're gonna be tried there, he changed like it was from night to day. He red in the face as a beast, got white hair, and looking down only with that black robe, he was a low down thing. I couldn't call him a man because today, I mean, he's dead now. If he was alive, I wouldn't call him a man because he didn't act like one. He didn't act human at all. He had no feelings. The lawyers among themselves was talking in the front of us and said that, we can't win here, that you all going to be found guilty. No, they're saying they're going to be found guilty because we can't win here. In other words, what they're saying in essence, if we had money, we would go home the next day. We didn't have no money. Not the kind of money they're looking for. I didn't have that kind of money. Okay, this was something else to be on your mind. You got to deal with the jail. You got to deal with the guards. You got to deal with these courts. So you got all these things that's going against you. It's a lot of pressure. But anyway, it came time to go to trial. They got a witness named Johnny Brown. He didn't show up. But Phyllis Santina and Arthur Shields was there. And Phyllis Santina did her testimony. She lied about me pulling her hair. And Arthur Shields got up there and perjured himself. He said that we are the men and that we look just like the men. He said he'd never forget the faces. That's perjury. So the attorney read into the record what his testimony had been in the first 2 trials. It made no difference to the judge. They found us guilty. The 3rd trial. Now, when they was about to the senators give us the death date, this was the only time in my life, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, it's the only time in my life that I experienced fear. I had never had fear a day in my life, and that's something that no man could say. But that was the first time that I had ever felt fear, because they're going to give you a date that they're going to execute. They call it execute, and I call it murder. Me, right? So now, I'm experiencing this. I'm a big man. not no 6 feet tall. I'm just a muscular. But I got more muscles in my brain than I do on my body. But they don't know this. Anyway, that's when I experienced that fear. I went through some introspective changes. But after I got to Statesville, that's the death row that they sent us to, I got more information on the way in after I got there that when they sentence you to death, you got what you call an automatic appeal. I didn't know that. So I find out now that it might be years before, they execute me, so I got time to fight. So all I'm doing now is trying to get hooked up with the people who was doing the law, the librarians who was bringing books and everything there. When I walked up into Statesville, the first thing that I run into is that the individuals on death row, these are the men that's been sentenced to death, had taken over death row in Statesville. It was over by the time Tillis and I got there, but they still did that. So when David Tillis and I got there, they started treating us like they was treating those men. And Lonnie Gates told them, say, hey, man, I wouldn't do that to that man now. Because, hey, you don't know what you're doing that to that man. I didn't say a word. They put the federal handcuffs on me. I had a visitor with a federal handcuffs on me. That means you can't move nothing but your fingers. You can't do anything but your fingers, and that's it.
Mr. Cobb.
Behind that.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Behind that, I went to my visit, and I had 2 visits. My sister was from out of town, and my lawyer, and I visited them. And came on back, and I got back on the road, on the north side of the road. The same man that put those handcuffs on me real tight. When he took them off, I never said a word. But when he got them off, I knocked him down the hall because he treated me like I was dirt, like I was nothing. And I knocked him down the hall. He slid down by the shower, and the state in the bar had knocked him out. 3 days later, they transferred the whole death row to Menard death row. Okay, but Menard death row, they got this great big guard. He's the second warden, and he's standing right behind me talking about we treat you like men. If you act like men, we just treat you like a dog. If you act like a dog, I told him to get from behind me. Talking like that. Yeah, I can stand where I want to stand. So you won't stand behind me talking. You don't treat somebody like a dog. It seems like you're talking to me. But anyway, I had an attitude. I didn't like the way anything was going. But we had to go through those changes in Menard, and they had a thing where they transferred after we went through changes because they made us buy cookies and candy. They wouldn't let us buy any candy because they're selling meat. Cookies and candy, popcorn once in a while. No meat. And that was the bad thing. So they transferred Dickie Gaines and I to another unit because we were the only ones that was hollering about this cookies and candy. Why couldn't we buy canned goods and meat? We couldn't do that. So we got to hollering about it. And Gaines got into it with them, and he had some urine that he had saved I don't know how long he had stayed, but he had stayed. He threw that on them, and they had some mace, and they shot mace in his cell at my cell. Now he next door to me. I hadn't did anything, but they shot it on me too. So we went to those things. They transferred us, and they kept us transferred 2 years from all the death row being in Menard. We were separated from them. Now, in doing so, I had made ally, friends.
Excuse me, Mr. Cobbs.
Yes,
in about 4 more minutes, we're gonna need to go into questions because I want to get a couple of things out about your story. I have a couple of questions with you. So I'm just letting you know. I usually just raise my finger, but you're on the phone, so you won't be able to see me. So just letting you know.
Okay, just cut on these and then return. Okay, anyway, I made an ally with a sergeant, and I'm not gonna call his name because I don't know what's happening now. He probably retired, but anyway, he was going to ministry, and he needed someone to write a letter for him because this was going to be the test. So I wrote that letter, and he won the prize. By doing that, he became the man that was mailing out my whatever I needed mailed to my attorney, to whoever he was mailing to make sure that they got mail. Because in Menard, a lot of times you had some legal stuff. You send it out to the mail. It never got there. It never got there. But all mine got there, and they was kind of concerned about how was mine getting there. The thing of what me and this man did, we played an act on him to the degree where I threw something on him. It was soda. It looked like urine, but it was soda. I threw it on him. And they said that we was enemies, so they kept him up there right there. That was good. That's why we did that. So that's how I got to get everything out, was through him. Before they transferred me to Pontiac. Okay, but what they did before the transfer came, there was a nurse, 21 or 22 years old white girl, and how they had Dickie Gaines and I. We wasn't able to take showers. They put us upstairs where we would take baths. They had a big bathtub. He'd take his bath, and then they'd wash the tub out and everything, and I come back, I'll re-wash the tub out, and I'll take a bath. At this particular day, what happened, Gaines had taken his bath, I cleaned the tub out and everything. This lady came and sat in there where you take a bath, because I was in the tub. And I wanted to get out of the tub. I said, listen, man. I said, would you kind of leave? Because she asked me, Mr. Cobb, is there anything that I can do for you? I said, no, ma'am. I said, what you can do, you can leave because I want to get out the tub. Now, I was supposed to set up to the degree where I would approach her, but I didn't do that. I didn't have no mind on no sex. I want to get outside. I want to go home. That's what it's all about. And I didn't fall into their thing. Here they came in there about 13 deep. They got these half a baseball bat with shields and everything. Get on out the tub. So they transferred Gaines and I to the first floor. And when I got to the first floor, the cell that they put me in, I had dreamed about that cell when I was a child. It messed me up. I had dreamed about it when I said, listen, that was a minister named McGee. He came by and said, Perry, we can't go nowhere. You can't go nowhere. I had a dream about God and this water and the boat and logs floating in it and things. And there was a note was fashioned underwater, and it read, when you read it, real loud, let them go because they're innocent. Check this out. I had to type out what was on my mind. And I couldn't do nothing but hunt and peck. Remind you now, listen to me. I can only hunt and peck. When I started to type, I typed like I had been typing all of my life. And when I finished typing, I just fell across the bed. I was tired, exhausted. But check this out. The letter that I typed and the date that was in that letter is the same date that I got off of death row. The same date. That messed up everybody. I was satisfied. But I was still shaking because I had to ask this brother named can't think of his name. Bracey, Tom Bracey. He knew the Bible. And I asked him about it. He sit down and he told me about it. There was a lot of things that was unfolding to me that was new to me, and it caused me to shake because I couldn't believe that God would be dealing with a person like me. I fight at the drop of a hat. I said, there ain't no way in the world they're going to have nothing to do with me. So check it out. But the date that was in the letter that was the story that I wrote, the date that was in that letter was the same date that I got off of death row, that I hit the street in Chicago, Illinois. That was the same date. And to that date, I'm going through changes right now. Some of the things that if you could see my writing, you'd be surprised, because the writers that came to death row, they told me, and they told all the exonerees that was up there with me that I was the best writer in the building, that I could beat them writing and all the exonerees. They say, Perry, God, you're writing well. Do not let anyone see it, because a writer like you comes along once in a lifetime. Now, there's one sentence that I wrote last week, just one sentence. I won't share it with you what it is, but I'll tell you this much. If you read it, it would bring tears to you, because I shared it with two people that I trust, and it's about a handful that I trust, and they cried like a child, and it's not that type of sentence, but it is. They cried like a child did. So that's my story. That's what I do.
I have just a couple. I have just a couple of questions for you. You know, I had heard your story. I've heard it a couple of times, and it's always something that's very touching and unbelievable. You know, especially with you experiencing back at the time you did with the racism and Chicago, and you know all these trials until they finally got it right. I wanted to know how is life for you now after the exoneration, and how do you feel about does this what happened to you affect your life now?
Well, the bad part is this: I have three sets of twins. My baby set of twins, my baby girl, is that she and I don't see each other like we should, because she's confused and she won't admit it when her daddy says that he is not normal. And I told her why it happened, and she didn't understand that. I said, well, I'm going to try it this way. I said, the people that did the crime was in the courtroom, and there was a lawyer who testified. He was a state's attorney. He testified that the state witnesses were the people who actually did the crime, and they was right in the courtroom, and they never arrested them. They had been paid in the thousands of dollars for false testimony. I say that bothers me, and I'm not right behind that. I say the love that I had, I still have, and it's even greater. I say, but I'm unable to express it And, you know, it's hard. I can put my hands around the husband, but I won't squeeze in the kind of way because I'm afraid that I will hurt them. I'm kind of strong, and I'm afraid that I will hurt them. See, Dad, you hug me, but you never even hardly touch me. I say, I don't want to hurt you. See, that thing, like, to the degree whereas one day she told me when I was ill, I had the phone on one side of the bed. She said, why are you hollering? I said, the phone's on the other side of the bed. I'm doing the best I can. She said, well, you can call me back when you calm down. I said, well, to myself, I probably never call you because I'm all I'm in is pain. See, it's bad when it affects you and your family. I had to talk to my dad and my mama because they would think that I'm so strong that, you know, everything goes. I had to tell them, say, wait, I'm a human being. Because I've been locked up with killers and rapists and all that. It didn't come out with me. I just came out, but I'm not that type of person. I had to try to let them know that, you know, because you're in jail, that don't mean jail come out with you. But it did to a degree because I'll never forget the moments that I was locked up. I can't ever forget that.
I got a second question. I got a second question from one of the viewers. Cat List says, Mr. Cobb, is it hard for you to talk about your story?
It used to be. Sometimes in telling my story, sometimes it brings tears to fall like they're from a waterfall. And I was at one time I was ashamed to cry. And then it dawned on me that I had told T when he came, he told me he cried. I said, don't worry about it. I said, Jesus will. And so I have to look at that and say, well, that's where it comes, because it's not just tears that come, it's just the sound in me that want to come. And it bothers me. I guess the man in me is still a child, because when you cry and you've got to make the sound too, that takes quite a toll on a man. It really does. That bothers me.
The next question is, you're a member of Witness Innocent. How long have you been a member of Witness Innocent, and what made you come a part of the membership?
Well, I think it's been 14 or 15 years. What happened, Delbert Tills had got in contact with Delbert, and I told him, I would like to go too. So he made contact, and they sent for me too. That's how I became a member of Witness Innocent. 14 or 15 years ago.
Now, I'm getting low on time. Is there anything that you would like to say to the viewers before we go?
I would like to thank them for that thing that's on their neck. They call their head. They got the ears on it, and they mind their heart. They take the time to listen to my story. I thank them very much for that, because sometimes it's a great deal of a pressure off you when you are able to release what's in your heart and your mind. And that's what this story here is doing, and your program is doing, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much for that. And tell them that for them for their time that they're putting in. I thank them for that. I appreciate it very much.
So we just heard the story of Mr. Cobb's, and this is one of the many stories. It's 172 people that already been exonerated from death row since it's been reenacted in 1976. There's been numerous of executions since then, and God knows how many innocent people have actually been executed. For instance, here we have Mr. Cobb had 5 trials. Trial 1, 2, and 3 was hung jury, and the 5th one was exoneration. sometimes it takes time to find these things and stuff. And one of the bad things about it is that a lot of people go in and cry that they innocent and they didn't do it. They don't accept the responsibility of doing things when they actually did it. So it makes it difficult for those that are really truly innocent to actually get the help that they need on an innocent claim and things like that, and it's very difficult. But like Mr. Cobb, myself, and the other 170 people that's been exonerated from death row, luckily God answered our prayers and our innocence was able to be seen. For those that still sitting on death row, I wish I can speak to you all face to face, but I speak through the air, through that we're out here fighting, and as long as this innocence exists, and as my good friend and executive director said the other day, we're not trying to rest until we abolish the death penalty completely here. If we had our way, we'll do it all across the world. This is death penalty is not a method of justice. It's a method of revenge. In a lot of cases, the victim wouldn't even want the death penalty seeked in that case, or the victim family don't want it, and the state will still seek it and go for the death penalty. And to be honest, the death penalty to me is actually an easy way out, because if a person actually committed the crime and did horrendous things and they turn around and they say they done got caught by the police and they waive all their um, appeals and they waive all their um, court motions, that person can be the next person executed. So if that person is executed, he's not spending no time in no jail cell thinking about what he have done. He's not spending no time thinking in having any consequences. Really, life in prison, you have to actually think about everything you've done for the rest of your life, and you have to consider dying, having a feeling of dying inside of prison. I do not support um, um, life sentences. I really don't, because I do believe in second chances. It's a lot of times I done seen where it be a crime of passion. A person caught his girlfriend cheating or something like that, and he blows it and it accidentally caused her to pass away. I sympathize with the family, but I just don't believe in completely life without parole. Um, I'm coming to an end of the show. I got like a minute or so to go. I want to thank everyone for coming, and I want you to understand that you can reach us at witnessinnocent.org. There's a page for donations. There's a page for speaking if you want to host a speaking engagement. Also, our staff is a great staff. I mean, they put this stuff together for us every week, and it's an educational purpose. We try to see how many views we can get. So if you can share this video, if you can share this Facebook Live show, and if you want, you can go onto our YouTube, Witness Innocent YouTube station, and actually get a copy of the video and share it on your other Instagrams or whatever. If you can share this video, it would be so grateful to us. That's a great way of giving support, because you never know who may take time out to watch this, and then who this. I was taught when I was speaking that I may not be able to change the world, but if I could reach one person each time I speak, I'm beginning to help the movement of change come about, because change come about when people are aware and people in society put together and force laws to change, and we want to force the death penalty to end here in the United States and around the world. You can also reach us on Twitter, Instagram. Uh, I'm not sure what the links is for that because it's not showing to me to read completely off right now. But as you're watching the slides, you will see it where it has the witness innocent information. If you want to contact me personally, and my mailbox is kind of empty right now because people haven't really, this is the slide. Um, you can reach me at hlindsey@witnessinnocent.org. I would love to hear from people and answer questions, um, and possibly um, arrange some speaking arrangements for death row exonerees to attend and be able to tell a story. Yes, it's a difficult thing to do. It's a difficult thing to even deal with this, but it needs to be dealt with, and it has to be dealt with. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for another episode of Cruel Justice, and I hope to see y'all next week. Thank you so much for coming. And thank you, Mr. Carr, for being there, and thank my staff and my executive director for making this happen. Bye-bye.
Thank you.